So maybe I'm just going to try to articulate some of the multi-layered facets of this civil war, because it's a war happening between multiple different facets of our human existence. Primarily, at its heart, it is a war between the survivors who broke off and came together, organized a plan to dismantle the networks that are committing mass human atrocities at unprecedented scale. So it's the survivors versus the perpetrators, those who grew up and chose to continue on the perpetration, and a whole new subset of our population has been indoctrinated into these covens and circles through the fucking degradation of moral fortitude or moral consciousness. They have co-opted every sort of resource that's available for victims of abuse. So many people were abused. So many people. And if they weren't abused in these elite, or ritual circles, the pockets of severe poverty and violence that is just spread out through our country. I mean, there are third world deserts in our fucking country that, is absolutely unbelievable what's happening in Chicago in the, was it mayor or the governor fucking trying to stand up against reducing the goddamn fucking horrific violent crime that's happening in the in the neighborhoods in Chicago. The arguments should be fucking transparent. The people who are arguing for things that make no sense should be a fucking number one flag. And coming from the liberal world, being someone who put my sort of self-esteem in the hands of popularity. I came from the grunge era, so it was all about being cool, and then it turned into being a hipster. Yeah, I'm old. I'm pretty much Gen X or elder millennial. In growing up in the heart of Seattle, in the city, there's no way. I don't know anybody who was a Republican besides my dad. The funny thing is that, I never shut out my dad's arguments, because most of what he had to say was sound and it made sense, and we had, healthy dialogue. But the descent out of the left is it's like a manifestation of a demon kind of coming to its peak and then regurgitating it, because you argue for the sake of arguing, because you're so depersonalized in your beliefs versus what reality is telling you. Women do not fucking celebrate abortions. In my day, that's unheard of. It's horrific. We mourn it. It was something that a lot of us went through, and it was the most horrible experience of our lives. How did we get to a place where girls are fucking throwing parties to have abortions? If you look at it, and the data, the actual facts, the proof, the evidence of how fucking pervasive these crimes are happening, how many people are involved in it, if you look at their ideology and what they're doing, it's understandable. You understand what happened. You see these trans and LGBTQ activists come out to protest a Christian gathering. Who are they arguing? Who are they protesting? Because they're not protesting the values of the Christians. The Christians don't even engage in argument because it doesn't fucking make any sense. Because they're in their minds they're arguing Nazi Germany. Whereas every time I've encountered a Christian, they are mild, meek. And meek doesn't mean weak. They are always open to listening. They are open-minded for the experiences of each individual. And for the most part, I've never really encountered any Christian who's been condemning. They might publicly condemn it as a form of their beliefs because it is wrong to murder. It's wrong to murder a baby, a life. Now, I come from a different position. If you're not a Christian and you're so heavily indoctrinated, we live in a world where a mother who does everything right goes so far beyond the average to fucking protect her children, provides such a monumental body of evidence, gets her children stripped from her, like within a month of them telling multiple professionals that they were raped from their father. This divide is calculated. But do you see the bridge? When you are growing up in a world that these people have designed where you don't get freedom, you do not get safety or protection unless you either are completely separated from their created world, which is pretty much nowhere unless you're Amish, or that you meet a criteria that can be molded and used for their interests. Victims have to meet a fucking standard to be helped. You can't fucking tell the truth and get helped. Every hospital, every police department, if there's a 30% of the society that's involved in these things, then 30% of the hospital staff is involved. And handlers follow their victims to the hospital, use their protocol to make sure that the victim is only seen by doctors in the club who can minimize, patronize, gaslight, and hopefully get into put them in a psych ward where they can then be raped. Because I'm going to tell you this, every psych ward that's government funded is a fucking cesspool for these monsters who are fucking gassing, drugging their victims and raping them at night. I was held down and gang raped multiple times in a psych ward I was put into because it was the only place for me to go after I tried to flee from being held captive in my house, trying to fight off these monsters from raping me every night. So in the hospital, I had sleep paralysis where I knew I was being held down and raped and I couldn't wake up. And they kept administering drugs. And this happened in the middle of the night. It was the night staff. One of the men raped me anally. And his body part was so huge that it ripped open my bottom. And I could not go to the bathroom. But the muscles were atrophied and they would not push out my bowel movements. This was while I was in the psych ward, and the nurses wouldn't help me. And I, of course, I couldn't say anything because they would say that I was schizophrenic. And I've done everything in my power to make sure that not a single psycho motherfucker puts a legal diagnosis on me. And I've done that by being able to produce facts, a timeline of logic, and anchor everything that I've experienced in every legally documented report made. To let whoever was in front of me trying to fucking fuck me over know that they're gonna be pulled in and they're gonna fucking face some real serious motherfucking criminal charges if they co-opt this fucking game plan. So nobody's diagnosed me. Because you can't diagnose someone who's fucking sane and who's telling the truth that nobody can deny. And here we are. We have an argument that's so separated. People aren't arguing face to face. And when they are, like what I watched RFK and Bernie, and what's her name? God, she's an idiot. And God, I used to love Bernie. I lost so much respect. His arguments were fucking just pure abuse tactics. They were narcissist abuse tactics. Oh, so you don't trust our medical systems? You're saying that nobody can trust the pharmaceutical? No, I'm saying that there are financial incentives that have, co-opted an unmitigated system where the pharmaceutical industry is being controlled for the benefit and interest of people who don't have our interest, our health at hand. No, you don't trust doctors? What? It's fucking Looney Tunes. And then if you're I mean, the liberals still think that they're fighting with the fucking elite fucking Satanist racists from like the 80s and 90s. Rock and roll is poisoning our children. Rock and roll is killing our children. Black people are the problem. Black people need to get their shit together. Meanwhile, we'll fucking infiltrate their families and their neighborhoods with crack cocaine. This shit goes both ways. So this war, at its heart, at its origin, is the survivors versus the fucking, what do we call them? The possessed? They're possessed. There is a systematic mission to degrade the soul and split the soul, leaving room and cracks in the human psyche and consciousness for demonic entities to possess at will and drive the interests of these Satanists. They're fucking Satanists. There's no other way around it, because the thing is, there's enough out there for most people to know. And the battle right now that we see, the bystanders see at least, is for the conscious acknowledgement of the percentage of society that did not grow up in these fucking circles. The fight is for their allegiance, essentially, and that scale has been tipped. There isn't anybody on social media or out in the world of content and news that is arguing against the truth. It with like the kind of vitriol that these people do, who are not either child victims or adult conscious participants. Meaning they are arguing for the sake of their own fucking like grasp on their power. Most people, when you give them enough facts and show them enough data and speak to them as an adult with reason and respect, can understand the truth as it stands in its natural state. That's how it's so easy to fucking pinpoint the gatekeepers. There's this woman that's on social media. She posts several times a day. She claims to be a woman who is consulting with the police department to teach them about child trafficking. This bitch is a fucking Order of the Eastern Star goddamn fucking propagandist. That woman is saying all this shit on her fucking social media and then fucking chumming up at 2 o'clock in the morning with those same fucking police officers while a fucking ritual is performed, and they fucking drink the blood of fucking children and then have fucking orgies with each other and their own children. That's what they do. These are the people we are fighting against. And it's so insane that it's unbelievable. And these people have stood on, they've banked on the fact that what they do is so unbelievable to someone who hasn't been through it. That they can just fucking gaslight and they're, you know, for eternity. Gaslight, gaslight, gaslight. It's so fucking ironic that they accuse conspiracy theorists of having these wild, you know, imaginative conspiracies, because that's so crazy. While they're fucking actively open within their own circles, engaged in that fucking network. I mean, you have to understand the like level of severing that happens in the consciousness to be able to do that, to live that out. And that's 30% of our fucking society. And I promise you it's probably higher, because that percentage, that stat was taken by our department, by our task force, around the 2013. There's a whole new generation of like young 20s who are being brought into these circles and who are engaging in ritualized murder, who didn't experience that as a child. And they get them in there because they trauma bond with them, and they tell them, and they exploit their indoctrination against the fascist right. There's no more fascist right. That doesn't fucking exist anymore. It doesn't. I mean, you know, Donald Trump does these speeches, and he doesn't even say anything, and that's by design. He repeats things as orders within our operation to give the public details on the timeline and where we're at. He doesn't even fucking really say anything. In fact, it's kind of nonsense most of the time. But nowhere near the state of catastrophic fucking dementia that Clone Joe had. Anyways, you know, then they get them in, and then they're like, we do this secret thing, and it's our secret. And wasn't it cool? Wasn't it weird? And you know, the thing is like they wake up after that experience, and they don't really remember. They shut out the horror. They're brought into these circles and brought to a ritual. They're shown the murder, and then they're given the blood, and they have an experience that my guess is like nothing else on earth. Because why else would it be the foundation of our fucking economic industry? It's the foundation of our economy. It's the foundation of control of our government. It has been. I have these whispers of like kind of primal like lust or intrigue for the rituals that I was my altars were forced to be involved in. And I explored that within myself. And it's all shit that can be explained in the goddamn Bible. What a lot of these new people, these new younger witches and warlocks that are coming in and engaging in this corporate serial child murder, they don't see what's done to get the blood. Because once they do the sacrifice, then the witches or the witches' assistants come out with, all the blood for the 100 people that are at. And every one of these rituals has at least 100 people most of the time, because it's an energy harvesting ritual. They need that many people, and there's not just one victim. There's one sacrifice, and the victims, what they do to the victims in preparation. So here's the deal. When we flip the switch, as one of my fucking online psychopaths was trying to harass me online, he was trying to threaten me. He was telling me how I was going to be tortured and terrorized until this flipping switch. Because they know that the EMS is going to be ignited and the entire fucking grid is going to be shut down. Because when we hit that point, that's where we completely destroy their access to power. And all their coyotes running through the tunnels and up and in and out the entrances in their little cloaking Superman suits are suddenly going to be fucking visible to the public. And then when the lights get switched back on, the planned programming of the humanitarian world crisis is going to be articulated to the public in a way that no one could argue. And those who participated are going to be given options, but all of them are going to be forced to sit through video footage of these children being tortured to get the fucking blood that they are fucking coveting, that they built their entire fucking